I went to a meeting recently and experienced some of the same old stuff that I used to experience and wanted to document what I saw. You who might believe the same way I do, check this out and give me your opinion. I will call this Questions to My Charismatic Enemies instead of Friends because of their dismissal of me and my determinedness about sound doctrine. So check these questions and then call me a heretic or delusional or arrogant or, my preference, truth teller if you want. In Isaiah 45:7 it's stated, "The one forming light and creating darkness, causing well-being and creating calamity. I am the Lord who does all these." In 2 Thessalonians 2:11 it is stated, "For this reason God will send upon them a deluding influence, so that they will believe what is false." 1 Samuel 5:6, "Now the hand of the Lord was heavy on the Ashdodites, and he ravaged them and smote them with tumors, both Ashdod and its territories." And then Romans 5:3, "And not only this, but we exult in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation brings about perseverance." Okay, questions beginning. Is Jesus God? You and I agree that Jesus is God. We are starting on the same foundation there. But is he the same yesterday, today, and forever? Or did the rules of play change? Are you now going to attribute suffering to the devil, or did I then just do something wrong? If so, does that mean that really I am in control? Am I sovereign God? How about in the Old and New Testaments? Romans 9:15 says, "For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion." And this is directly from Exodus 33:19, which says, "And he said, I myself will make all my goodness pass before you, and will proclaim the name of the Lord before you, and I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show compassion on whom I will show compassion." And what about Hannah's song in 1 Samuel 2:6? "The Lord kills and makes alive. He brings down to Sheol and raises up." And what about generational curse? Where is the scriptural reference for that? And if I am born again, am I still under a curse? I know I can be oppressed and harassed by Satan and his demons, but Jesus took the curse, so am I not free of that already? If God is the same, yesterday, today, and forever, then do the rules still apply to modern-day prophecies? Are you just supposed to brush false prophecies aside, saying, "Oh, they just made a mistake. Maybe they'll do better next time"? I don't think so. If prophecies still exist, then do the laws that govern them still exist? What about this passage in Deuteronomy 18:20? "But the prophet who speaks a word presumptuously in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or which he speaks in the name of other gods, that prophet shall die." Does that sound like a justifiable defense? And shouldn't you be testing the spirits and calling those who make false prophecies into account? And what about couples you have in your ministry that should not even be married? Is sin now okay since Jesus paid for it? We can do whatever we want, and oops, Jesus will just step in and make it right. Is that the philosophy? What about all the laws that were put into place by Jesus himself not long before his death and resurrection, such as Matthew 5:32? But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife except for the reason of unchastity makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Does this make any remarriage okay? What about inviting in the Holy Spirit but not testing those other spirits that can come on in? What about saying that we were filled with Jesus? Jesus is seated at the right hand of God. It's his Holy Spirit we are filled with. Does that matter? You come close, right? Well, where does that place the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? Are they now interchangeable? At this recent event that I attended, I heard someone accuse me and others that we can bring on our own demise by not doing things right. I don't have enough faith, or I don't proclaim things correctly with my words, tone of voice, inflection, motive, or I have anxiety and I will be doomed. In other words, Psalm 39:4 doesn't apply. Lord, make me to know my end and what is the extent of my days. Let me know how transient I am. So whose life is this anyway? Is it mine? I should have been dead a long, long time ago if so. What about your music that is more of meditation than inspiration? Isn't that like Hinduism and Buddhism? The reiteration of line after line after line of a song causes me to think, you think, we have to usher in the presence of the Holy Spirit, like he needs to come when summoned. Now, who's in charge of the court? It's God, right? Since when do we need to subpoena him to show up? What about posturing yourself so you're in a good place to get God's goodness? Does that not once again make me in charge? In other words, do I have to dress a certain way, or look a certain way, or hold my hands in a certain way in order to please God and then get what I want? Is that how it works? It's a distraction and a show, isn't it? Can we be ourselves? Are you being yourself? What about all the gifts of the Holy Spirit? We know that they apply today, but are they applied by God or by us? Do we pick and choose who uses what, when, and for what purpose? Or is it God that mandates the usage as he sees fit for the purpose of building up his son's body in any way that pleases him? The latest pastor I heard was yelling as if that were the most effective way to communicate, and if I didn't yell back, I was in the doghouse. In other words, I couldn't be me. I had to fit into a particular mold, or I didn't please the presenter. What about pleasing God? Doesn't it please God just to trust him and believe in him? Who are we to dictate how that's done in others? I think we're not. Comments, please.